If you haven't heard, things are really blowing up at Bungie today, and not in a good way. Early on Monday, October 30th, numerous Bungie employees confirmed on Twitter that they had officially been let go. This was not limited to one particular team, by the way. Multiple teams at Bungie are getting hit hard with layoffs. Newer hires, as well as multi-year veteran Bungie personnel being let go. Rumor has it that this is all tied together with recent waves of big layoffs being pushed by Sony. Remember that Bungie was officially acquired by Sony not too long ago. Jason Schreier, a gaming journalist who often has early scoops that historically end up being correct, has reported that the final shape is officially being pushed back from February to June. There's been no word on this from Bungie yet, so nothing official, but again, Jason Schreier is a very credible industry source, at least historically. Meanwhile, other than those being let go, Bungie has been oddly quiet about all of this. Bungie's CEO Pete Parsons eventually put out a sympathetic tweet, but the more time has gone by, the more this tweet really kind of hasn't sat well with me. We don't really know if Pete's hands are being completely tied by Sony with these layoffs, but the vibe from former Bungie employees on Twitter is that all of this could have and should have been prevented. And if these layoffs are being ordered from the top of the mountain from Sony, then what the fuck? During the original deal with Sony, Bungie leadership was apparently quoted as assuring people that this type of situation wouldn't happen. So again, what gives? Anyway, while streaming, I hopped on a voice chat with fellow D2 content creator Aztecross to discuss the situation. Here is our convo. Enjoy. Dude, kind of a bad day.
Yeah, I've got so many questions that I don't know if we're ever going to get the answers to. I'm sure some of them will trickle out to us. But, you know, we've had expansions delayed in the past, but never like this.
Never like this. And I was chatting with a few people mentioning that, like, look, we've had big D2 releases delayed before. And, like, for the most part, we've been kind of cool with it. It's just harder to kind of take that delay on top of this crazy news that just a ton of people are getting laid off, right? It just makes it much harder to take. Like, right. I want Final Shape to be the best product it can be. And if, like, it was different if nobody got laid off and Bungie just came out and was like, look,
oh yeah,
like, the team's staying the same. We're just going to put our heads down and grind out the product. We're going to delay it a couple months, but we just want it to be awesome. Because, like, you know, Lightfall maybe didn't hit the way that Witch Queen hit. So we want it to, like, just go really hard. That would be different. But, like,
absolutely,
it's just it's not encouraging to know that, like, just a ton of people have been laid off. Oh, and by the way, also Final Shape getting delayed. Like what is going on?
Just a double whammy, man. Yeah. They could have had momentum too with that, right? And I felt like if it was going to be delayed during the Final Shape reveal, to, like, come out and say, we want to get this right, we're going to delay it now until June. Yeah. I mean, that would be like, that they're serious now. Like, there's
yeah.
And then you would have momentum behind that. This just seems, this almost screams like management woes internally right now.
Yeah, like, there's clearly a history that, and it's not even like wanting to be like, ooh, juicy drama. Like, I just want to know what's going on because, like, it just, I don't know. Like, I don't know. It's just like, did you read the tweets from DMG?
I did.
Yeah.
It seems like DMG knows a lot.
Clearly. Yeah.
Yep.
There's a history going on here. There's been stuff going on behind the curtain that, like, we, the players, don't know about. And yeah, there was also an article I saw last year about how, like, oh, there won't be any layoffs or, you know, massive restructuring changes due to the acquisition of Bungie by Sony. And I was like, well, shit, that didn't, depending on what the layoffs are in relation to today, potentially that article may have aged quite poorly. Like, it's just, I don't really know what's going on. I hope it's not, like, you know, insane that there's crazy, you know, Activision Blizzard level shit going on. But, like,
that's what I'm worried about.
Yeah.
It was hostile between Activision and Bungie.
Yeah. Yeah, I want there to be some kind of, like, if there's bad shit going on, it's got to get taken care of. But, like, it's just, I don't know. I'm like F5ing on Jason Schreier's Twitter page a lot today because I just know that usually he's a pretty reliable source for industry news.
Right.
And if anyone's going to have the scoop before, people start breaking NDAs, it'll probably be him.
Yeah.
So, do you think this is like heavily Sony related?
I think it is Sony related. I think that with them doing all the layoffs elsewhere, they've got their earnings call on November the 9th. I think that's going to tell us a lot about what's happening and what their guidance is going to be over the next year. And you remember when Microsoft, like, they disclosed that Bungie's burn rate was really, really high, and that's why they were wary about acquiring Bungie.
Yeah.
And I wonder if Sony was like, okay, listen, we know your burn rate is high. We'll sign the contract. We'll give you this money with contingencies, right? Like we have to come in, trim some stuff, do things how we want. And it's funny because last year they had that whole delivery of, over delivery, and we're all that entire, and that was essentially Bungie talking to other developers on how to create a live service game. And,
right.
That definitely blew up in everyone or all their faces,
that
for sure.
Specific comment of, like, oh, you're creating patterns. I will, like, they probably are begging to go back in time and undo that slide.
Yeah.
Or whatever.
It kind of circles back though to Destiny 2. And although I do agree that yes, Bungie could be sharing great wisdom with other developers on how to create a live service game, but I do feel like the developers they're talking to, that's just not the realm. We're talking developers that they've been developing single player games for years with Sony, and to be able to take those guys and go, okay, now we're going to stick you into this live service vacuum. This is ABC.
Yeah.
When we know Destiny 2 was not an ABC approach. I mean, the game almost died.
Yeah.
And they did bring that up in the talk, but in some ways, yes, it took a lot of work to get Destiny 2 on track, but I think this community was just resilient, and that's really what kept Destiny from dying.
For sure. The diehards kept it afloat until they came in with a better plan overall. Like,
yep.
I want to be really clear. I'm stupid, right? I'm not smart. I've never worked in the gaming industry. Like, if there was like a Venn diagram, there's like a small portion, like tiny, barely existent, of like working as a content creator, being in the gaming industry to a degree. Like, I'm off in the side yard, right? I don't know what goes on behind closed doors. So I'm not going to speak like I'm informed or know what I'm talking about. However, it's just curious to me that, like, if they're trying to make these layoffs because like let's say theoretically Sony comes down from the mountain and they're like, hey, look, like we want to trim X number, we want to trim all this money from you paying salaries. We want to save this number of money. So let go this number of people, right? Like, the game's not earning enough. Like, so we have to cut corners. We have to cut expenses. But like, how are they going to get more out of Bungie now? So they're going to expect more with a smaller team? Like, what is the end goal here? What is their plan? Like, I've heard from people that maybe they're thinking that there's going to be some kind of restructure where there's going to be overlap, meaning like maybe some people on the Sony social team are going to work with people on the Bungie social team. That's why it's like, oh, well, we now have, in the new restructure, we have still people working for Bungie. Their social team isn't going to be reduced to just Cosmo because we have X number of people working at Sony who can help out. But it's like, is the Sony team as tuned in to the community as people who specifically work for Bungie, like whose sole job it is to just be speaking with the D2 player base at large? Like, it just doesn't make sense in my head why they're doing this. Like,
yeah, man, that's my thoughts exactly. With them having so many games on the horizon that they're trying to push out, now it's not the time to be slimming the team up, unless, I don't know, and unless there's something internally we don't know,
and there probably is.
Yeah,
there probably is.
The amount of people that got laid off, I'm being told 50 plus people got laid off. I think it all just, the fact that all of this is happening at once, and then Final Shape being delayed. My question is, you know, I know this information got leaked. I don't think the developers themselves felt like it was going to be delayed back in the Final Shape reveal, because the way they pitch the Final Shape, the way they pitch episodes and stuff like that, and then the timetables for all those things, you know, I don't know. It seemed like even Joe himself didn't think there was going to be a delay, unless they're just really good at hiding that stuff, right?
Yeah.
Now, I remember when I was up there at Curse of Osiris, I could feel the tension. And then right after Forsaken launched, immediately afterwards, it was like Activision was trying to find a scapegoat for, you know, maybe not reaching certain profitability. And they were like, yeah, Forsaken didn't perform as well as we had hoped. You know?
Yeah.
And that was like the banner cry for Bungie to just unite and be like, actually, we think the expansion was great. We think we did a fantastic job. Remember, like Luke Smith came out and was like, we think this was great. Everyone at Bungie is very proud. And then that was when it was like, oh, okay, they clearly have some issues going on internally. And then soon afterwards is when Bungie announced they were going solo, which we were all happy about.
Yeah.
I was really happy. I was like, hell
thrilled, dude. Popped off.
And then they got in bed with Sony. And not that I think Sony is bad. I mean, I love so many things Sony does.
Sure.
But it does limit your freedom.
Yes, it does. And it also, you're just worried. Sorry, funny name at the tower. You're just worried. You always want the best for the community of the game that you love to play and the company that is, you know, in charge of that game and that community. And like, you know, when you a deal that big, obviously there's going to be good and there's going to be bad. And you just kind of hope that the bad is not as bad as you're worried it might be. And I think today, if this is all tied up in the layoffs going on at Sony, it's like, that's a worst case scenario. Like, you never want to have, you know, oh, big acquisition. Yeah. Pop the bubbly. This is awesome. This means good things for the future because this is a big deal and there's a lot of money involved. And we're like, you know, you don't want it to turn into this. This is bad. And like, that's why I think so many people get nervous. Like, a lot of people were like, oh yeah, you know, tentative jubilation when, you know, Bungie announced the original deal with Sony, because it's like, well, you know, we want the best, but what could happen? The bad things could happen, and now here we are, right?
Yeah, no, that was my thoughts too. It was like, I don't know how I feel about this. Like, don't get me wrong, I like seeing, you know, Bungie succeed, because we hope that goes toward Destiny 2 and make the game better. Something I want to bring up, though, and why I do believe that Sony is going to be having a big shakeup is, you saw that Jim Ryan,
I did
the
hear
CEO
about
of Sony, he's stepping away. And,
in 2024, right?
Yeah, 2024.
Okay.
I do wonder who's behind the scenes right now, because like normally, like when the CEO is stepping away, like they already have that second person that's training up, or already almost like acting CEO in a way. And you know, like when another CEO comes in, like they always like want to make a splash in some way.
Big shakeup. Yeah.
Some sort of big shakeup to just kind of get things rolling, and their way to be like, yo, I'm here now, I'm doing things. I wonder if it's that whoever that new CEO is behind the scenes that's already making moves to want to do this big shakeup. And
some people are saying like of course there's the meme comments and stuff like that. It's all Jover now, dude, and yada. And some people are like, oh, it's all gonna tank and go. It's like, I mean, the extreme is like you mentioned, like, oh, if D2 shuts down tomorrow, like, you know, we don't see that happening, because like, again, like, this is Bungie's only cash. This is their only source of income right now. This is all they have. Yeah. So like, big shakeup. I wouldn't expect to see it like just, you know, like Bungie, we're closing up shop or something like that. But still really disheartening. And I hope that there are good things in the future for everything under this collective umbrella. Meaning, I hope there's good things in the future for everybody who unfortunately got laid off today. I hope there's good things in the future for the community and the game at large. And just for everybody. I don't know. It just sucks.
Do we know how many of the people that were let go were from Marathon or from?
No, I wonder that too. Yeah, no, I haven't heard. I think that's part of what is so frustrating right now is that just kind of like the uncertainty, the lack of kind of like a full, the lack of certainty and just the unknown is kind of just really throwing me off right now. I mean, right now it's only it's 1:30 at Bungie over there on the West Coast. They said, according to that leaked or whatever email that Jason Schreier was quoted, you know, one of his inside sources from Bungie mentioned that they were going to have a meeting later today to discuss all the stuff going on. And the news articles going around saying that, quote, you know, final shape is delayed until June 2024. I don't think Bungie has come out and officially announced that yet. But like, again, Jason Schreier is a super historically credible news source.
Oh, yeah.
And on top of that, with all of the rumor mongering and the discussion on social media about everything that is going on today, it wouldn't shock me if Bungie had originally planned to maybe not talk about that until later in the week. It'll probably get pushed up to, I mean, I would predict it would get pushed up to today, because otherwise it's just gonna keep spinning and spinning and spinning. Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're gonna have to talk about it, and dude, this is going to be the longest season we've ever had.
Is it really?
Yeah, it's going to be. I mean, technically 7 months. I don't.
How
season
long
of the
was
Lost
the delay?
Wasn't that long.
How long was the delay when we had that? I can't remember. Was that a Season of the Lost? Whatever it was. That big delay.
Yeah, so that was about, I think, close to 6 months. So this is going to be even longer than that. And I remember everyone, you know,
kind of
that one,
kind of
just
dying.
drug on. Yeah. I'm still just super confused by the delay. That's the thing. It's like you brought up earlier, why lay people off if you're having to delay the game? Why not keep your team full and get this out the door? I mean, and for it to happen on such short notice, I'm trying to remember. I need to go back and look. But when Beyond Light got pushed back, when Shadowkeep got pushed back, I want to say those things were all announced when the reveal was announced. They didn't have to go and change the dates. I could be wrong, but I could have swore they announced even like Witch Queen being pushed to February. They were like, okay, it's coming out February. There wasn't this big shift, because you want to avoid that, because that's a bad splash. That's a bad look.
Sony's fiscal year starts from March. So yeah, they're taking so they're pushing it deliberately forward to avoid they're trying to what am I looking for? Like they're trying to pad the stats on 2024. I'm like,
dude, that's so wild though. To push a game back though, I mean, it makes sense. It really does make sense. But to push a game back just so you could pad those stats, just so that the new CEO, whoever this new CEO may be, and I do think they were already active,
probably making plays from behind the curtain.
Yeah, I mean, it's what's the thing with presidential cycles? You always want to. I know this doesn't always happen, but they always want to start like a recession in the second year, and then that way by the fourth year they're pumping stimulus back in the economy. Anyways, I'm
sure there's something to that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like they want to pad the stats, and I feel like that could be happening here.
Might be. There's I feel like everybody's just kind of like waiting right now. Like it's one of those moments where like everybody's waiting for the news to drop. Like, is Bungie going to put out an article? Is there going to be maybe just a press release on the delay of, like, I don't know. Not much else to discuss at the moment other than speculate, but like I'm assuming that we will hear something about Final Shape officially today.